riding the wheels off a Honda through turn 5, 6 now, onto this mini back straight really with a little kink in the middle. Rossi absolutely giving it everything. He so wants to win this race, and there's 5 precious World Championship points up for grabs as well. Pedrosa doing a great job for his teammate Marc Marquez as far as the championship goes, and Pedrosa is just opening up a bit of an advantage.
Yeah, he's 0.6 of a second clear now of Valentino Rossi. Those guys behind Pedrosa will be scratching their heads about how Danny Pedrosa in these baking hot conditions has made that soft front tyre last as long as he has. We know he's got a silky smooth riding style, Danny Pedrosa. We know he's the lightest rider in this MotoGP field, but the way he's nursed these front tyres at the pace that he has done, it's been an exhibition so far from Pedrosa.
Yeah, an absolute exhibition of riding in these conditions with that softer option tyre. He's very light indeed. He's had a wretched season because of that, but once the conditions are right and he feels right, well, it could be 8 Grand Prix winners, which would be a record for a season in the Premier class. He's into turn 1. There's 4 laps to go. The advantage 0.6 of a second. Lorenzo's out of this, 2.3 seconds down. Will Rossi launch one more big charge? It would be an amazing attempt if he was able to do that.
Yeah, it would, because it looks like Rossi just struggling with a bit of front-end grip now. He's at 0.3 of a second slower last time around than Pedrosa. The gap's up to 0.6 of a second. Pedrosa's taken another 10th in the first sector on this lap number 25, so the gap almost 7.5 tenths now.
Kelly Pirro has passed Cal Crutchlow, so Pirro up to 7th place. Crutchlow has been relegated to 8th. 9th is Paul Espargaro, 10th Alvaro Bautista. Eugene Labadie running in 14th place.
Just quickly coming back to our race leader Danny Pedrosa as well, qualified in 8th place. He hasn't had a podium finish in the last 5 races. That is his longest sequence of successive race starts without a podium finish since his rookie year in the 125cc class back in 2001. Such a long time ago, I can barely get my words out.
3 races you've done today, it's amazing you've got any sort of voice left, to be honest with you.
What a day.
Well, Silverstone was unbelievable. It's just been an equally exciting day. This sport is absolutely at a pinnacle, and it's completely summed up 8 different Grand Prix winners with our fingers crossed for Danny Pedrosa, because he deserves to win this one.
Do you know what? Rossi is not giving up the ghost just yet. We knew he wouldn't. We know Valentino Rossi is one of the hardest fighters in this field. Rossi has responded. He's just put in a personal best lap of the race, lap a 1:33.025. He's cut the gap between himself and Pedrosa back to half a second.
2.5 laps to go. Is there a final twist in the tail? This is turn 5. Rossi being urged on by 100,000 yellow-shirted, yellow-flagged supporters. Lives just over the hill here in Tavula. There's nothing more that they want than him to win the race.
Here's Pedrosa then in the braking zone down for turn number 8. He gets that Repsol on the bucking and weaving under the brakes, gathers it all back up nicely to power it out of turn 8. Long run then down to the turn 9 and 10 double apex right-hander, and Pedrosa was strong in the first 2 sectors. He's gapped Rossi by 0.4 of a second. He's almost a second clear again of Rossi. In that tight and twisty section, turns 2, 3, 4 and 5, and then that run through 6, it's Pedrosa's front-end grip that's given him the advantage.
Here he is again. This is Pedrosa at his very, very best. Has not put a single foot, inch, anything wrong so far. We don't want to put the commentator's curse on him. There's 2.5 laps to go. Well, actually, there's only just over 2 laps to go. We ride with him through turn 15. He's coming up to 16. Rossi now is being gapped. I don't think there's any doubt about that. It is over 1 second now. I think Rossi's going to have to settle for second place.
I think last time around was Rossi's last throw of the dice, and it's not going to pay off because the gap is 1.1 seconds. Last time around, Pedrosa was 0.6 of a second. This will be a dagger to the heart of Rossi. Of course, he would have loved to have won in front of 100,000 fans here, but
this is over, I think, don't you? Unless Pedrosa hits big tyre problems now.
Well, Danny Pedrosa's got to make a mistake now in the last couple of laps because it's his race to lose. You're absolutely right, Nick. He's absolutely ridden brilliantly. It was Pedrosa, the predator, in the first half of the race. He worked his way through the pack, and once he pounced, well, he hasn't really looked like surrendering this lead, to be fair to Danny Pedrosa.
I've got to say, this is as good as I've seen Danny Pedrosa ride in all three classes of Grand Prix racing. This is classic.
Where's he been? This was a Danny Pedrosa we expected right from the get-go in Qatar. We know he struggled to adapt to those Michelin tyres. These hot conditions do favour him. He doesn't have those worries about generating heat into the tyres. Yeah, he's taken another 0.4 of a second out of Rossi through sector 2 on this penultimate lap. The gap now is 1.5 seconds. This Misano MotoGP race is there for the taking for Danny Pedrosa.
He would become the 8th Grand Prix winner of the season, which would be a record in the Premier Class of Grand Prix racing. It's just what MotoGP is about at the moment. He's picked up another 1/10 of a second through the third sector. It's across the line. 1 lap to go. 4.226 kilometres. 2.626 miles. Danny Pedrosa chasing his first victory of the season.
Danny Pedrosa's not been in this position for almost a year. Malaysia, Sepang last October, the last time we saw him stand on the top step of the podium, but Danny Pedrosa comes through turn 4. This is where he took the lead with that aggressive move on Valentino Rossi a few laps ago. Safely through 4 and 5 for Pedrosa. His lead now is up to 1.6 seconds.
20 Prussia's World Championship points. There he is, Phil Reed, 125, 250 and 500cc World Champion, looks on. Rossi now has settled for second place. It's 20 Precious World Championship points with Marquez down in 4th place. Danny Pedrosa, half a lap to go. He's at the far end of the circuit. Turns 9 and 10.
You have to feel Danny Pedrosa, look, he had a good look twice there over his right shoulder just to see where Valentino Rossi was. Well, Valentino Rossi's not in contention. Pedrosa then comes through turn 11 for the very last time. History beckons for the Spanish rider. Pedrosa safely through turn 12 and 13.
He's safely through 14. This is where he overtook Marc Marquez and Jorge Lorenzo. Rossi now settling for second place. His dad looks on, arms folded. History in the making. Danny Pedrosa is going to become the 8th winner this season in a MotoGP. Danny Pedrosa wins here in Misano.
Pedrosa, the master of Misano, history in the MotoGP World Championship. Valentino Rossi put up a valiant fight for second place. Jorge Lorenzo back on the podium in 3rd. Marc Marquez, a lonely and pretty disconsolate 4th place for the World Championship leader. Maverick Vinales crosses the line in 5th. Andrea Dovizioso will be the top Ducati rider in 6th place. Great ride there by Ducati test rider Michele Pirro to take 7th place. Cal Crutchlow, top independent team rider in 8th, just ahead of Paul Espargaro in 9th.
What about Alvaro Batista? Will he put that Aprilia in 10th place? He has done exactly that. So only 10 riders across the line at the moment. Danilo Petrucci, Stefan Bradl, 11th and 12th respectively. 13th is Hector Barbara. 14th should be Eugene Lafferty, the 30-year-old Irish rider. He's across the line and completing the points, scoring the man that finished 3rd here last year, Scott Redding.
Well, the reason I'm sure we were looking at Phil Reed there was because Danny Pedrosa now has tied a certain British rider, Phil Reed, on 52 Grand Prix victories in his career. Valentino Rossi, it wasn't the win he wanted. It was 20 important points for the world champion. He did all he could. He had nothing for Danny Pedrosa in those final few laps. He resisted for as long as he could, but it was clear that Pedrosa, with that soft option front tyre, just had by far the superior pace.
You summed it up in a lap and a half. You suddenly said, where has he been? That's good, I'm sure. And World Championship position. Well, Rossi's pulled back 7 points on Marc Marquez, and if he keeps doing that, it could be a little bit close at the end of the season. Lorenzo hangs on to 3rd place. Pedrosa now closing up, though, a little bit more on Jorge Lorenzo. Pedrosa's retaken 4th place from Maverick Vinales. Can we get another winner in Aragon? 2 weeks' time?
Well, I mean, these are heady days if you're a MotoGP fan. We said about it being a golden era at the British Grand Prix in Silverstone. Well, look at that sequence. 8 different winners in 8 MotoGP races in 2016. In the Premier Class, we started way back in 1949. That has never happened before.
That was an absolute faultless ride, I think, by Danny Pedrosa. I honestly don't think I've seen him ride better than that in his long career. 125 world champion, 250 world champion, double 250 world champion, MotoGP winner in every single year he's competed in the class. Lorenzo set the early pace. There we go. I bet he can't believe it. Because when he's down, Danny Pedrosa, isn't he? And when he's up, he's up. And he is up at the moment.
In that kind of form, Danny Pedrosa, you can't stop him. He's unbeatable. What a brilliant 43 minutes and 43 seconds that was for the 30-year-old. Fifth in the World Championship. Well, he's quickly taken fourth place back from Maverick Vinales. There have been some dark days this year for his Repsol Honda team.
We were discussing it for enough at Silverstone, weren't we?
Yeah.
And saying dark days, one side of the garage compared with the other. That's all changed around now. Marc Marquez strides into his garage, doesn't he? And sits down with a real bump. It's all right. He's still, leading that championship by 43 points, but he couldn't hang out with the top three in that race.
There aren't many days that Marc Marquez gets outclassed by his teammate, but today was definitely one of them. Yeah, you can clearly see, as Dylan alluded to at the start of the race, Danny Pedrosa's physical stature and his riding style means he's the only rider in that field that felt, of the full-time riders, Michele Pirro as well, that felt comfortable and confident that he can make that soft tyre work. It's baking hot conditions. Look at the sweat pouring off Danny Pedrosa's brow. Anybody else in that race knew if they went for that soft option front tyre, they were going to run into huge front end grip issues.
Half distance, would they?
Well, he was the pocket rocket today, wasn't he?
He certainly was. Valentino Rossi will make his way back in the end to Parc Ferme. Yellow flares light up the sky, flags all over the place. Second place for him. Not a bad day for Yamaha, second and third. The important thing was that it wasn't Marc Marquez that won the race, and really Danny Pedrosa winning the race. If it wasn't going to be a Yamaha, it's probably a good result for them. Maverick Vinales a bit disappointed with a fifth place. Had his problems, didn't he?
Yeah, a couple of early skirmishes with Marquez. There is Rossi. Danny Pedrosa just taking on some welcome fluids after that tough battle. Great ride by Michele Pirro. 7th place for him. He held off at Cal Crutchlow. Finished only 3.2 seconds behind Andrea Dovizioso. So brilliant job for him.
Danny Pedrosa and Jorge Lorenzo shake hands. Valentino Rossi somewhere out on the circuit. Quite where we're not sure yet, but I tell you what, it's nowhere near Parc Ferme yet. Here he comes. He is probably at this end of the circuit now. Yeah, coming into pit lane, Valentino Rossi, brilliant ride into second place. Pushed so hard at the front. Andrea Dovizioso in 6th place, still not that podium finish here in the MotoGP class. And we ride with Valentino Rossi. Hero's welcome for the 37-year-old who lives, as I say, just over the hill. You can almost see his town from the circuit in Tavula. He's back in.
Yeah, he's going to be feeling
he's a bit disappointed.
There'll be mixed emotions, won't there? Because, he's taken a very, very hard fought second place. Probably one of the hardest second places Valentino Rossi's taken in his illustrious career. He's taken 7 points back on Marquez in the championship, but of course, it's all about the winning, and it's all about the winning, certainly when you've got 100,000 fans that have come to watch you, and he just couldn't quite do it. I'm sure Valentino Rossi will accept, as he always does, that he was just beaten by the better man on the day.
Yeah, the shame for him as far as the championship goes, and another 5 points really would have put just a little bit of pressure on Marc Marquez. At the moment, 43 points is not too bad, but we've got 5 rounds to go. Aragon in 2 weeks' time. It's not really a home circuit for any of the Spanish riders, Aragon, is it? Because it's in the middle of nowhere, basically. Nobody can say, actually, I come from Aragon.
Well, he had the Blues Brothers helmet, didn't he, Valentino Rossi? He won't be quite singing the blues tonight, but he'll be happy. He did all he could. I mean, it was quite obvious from the mid-race point that Pedrosa was just by far the faster rider. The way that Pedrosa made that soft front tyre work, certainly in that third sector through those fast rights, turns 11, 12 and 13. And in the tight and twisty first section as well, where he just had that better edge grip on the front, it just meant that Danny Pedrosa was, well, a formidable force today.
Yeah, and we've got 5 races to go. He's won in Malaysia already last year, didn't he? So, you know, he could be, he could play quite a big part in the championship. Not for himself, but for his teammate Marc Marquez and getting in amongst the Yamahas.
So being honest, Nick, what would you have said to me if I'd have said to you in Mugello that we're going to have 7 different riders following Jorge Lorenzo's win? There are going to be 8 different riders in a row. What would you have said?
I'd have locked you in your room, I think. So Jorge Lorenzo, 3rd place for the world champion.
But seemed to drop off fairly soon. What was the issue out there?
Nothing. They were faster than me, and I needed 1 or 2 tenths more, so I couldn't do so much more. I cannot be happy because I expected to fight for the win, but sometimes you can do it, and you have to wait for the next time. Anyway, very happy with the victory of Danny because he passed a very bad period, and he deserved this victory because he fight so much.
Thank you very much, Jorge. Congratulations.
Yeah, very disappointed, Jorge Lorenzo. I think that was pretty obvious.
Well, he said, didn't have any problems, I just wasn't quick enough.
There we go, there's Valentino Rossi passing him. They almost touched. And then, of course, it was Danny Pedrosa that came and passed him as well for turn 14. Fans out on the circuit is always the way at these Italian circuits, making their way onto the start and finish straight for the podium ceremony. Good job that Valentino Rossi is on the podium this time. Of course, in Mugello, he'd already broken down, hadn't he?
Yeah. Danny Pedrosa, race winner here in Misano. 8 winners in 8 Premier Class races in 2016.
It's staggering.
Absolutely incredible.
The odds you'd have got on that, the thought that that was going to happen. So, Valentino Rossi, runner-up in front of the home crowd.
Well, Valentino, an aggressive start. You were leading for quite some time there. Obviously, then this fight with Danny at the end. Was there any point where you thought you might be able to get past him?
Yeah, you know, try the maximum for Lorenzo Marquez. And when I saw that my rhythm can be enough for win, I was very happy. But after arrived Pedrosa and it was too fast, I tried the maximum, but no way. He had a better pace. Anyways, the 2nd place. It's a shame here in Misano because it was a special race. I want to try to win, but anyway, today was impossible. Thank you. Ciao.
Thank you very much.
To all the guys and to all the fans that around the track was great.
Thank you very much, Vale. Congratulations.
Valentino Rossi's fans will go home safe in the knowledge that he did not leave anything out there on the track today.
God, he caught us all by surprise there. Valentino Rossi as well wasn't up at turn 4, wasn't it?
Well,
He
we
got
said
past him.
at the time it was a bit arrogant-esque, wasn't it, when those two had that great fight? Yeah, I mean, that's Danny Pedrosa giving it a bit of aggression that a lot of people don't think he's got in his locker, but...
Here he is, the 8th Grand Prix winner of the season.